Hello and welcome in my first tutorial, which was requested under my post by users in the Octane Renderer Facebook group. So I posted this image where I showed the dispersion, which is on the max value here, and three other images, which were my method of getting the dispersion that is way more crazy and more, of course, over-exaggerated. And yeah, I over-exaggerated it here so people can see how much I can push this dispersion method. So let me go here now and show you a few other things before I start explaining how to get this look. Here's normal glass material with no dispersion at all, and here's the max value of dispersion you can get normally in Octane Render. And here's the little twist. So first of all, with material layers, you can make glass look a bit more like a glass, I guess. See how this doesn't have this much of the details here, and here we get all this cool stuff around. And yeah, it's overall a super cool thing to do with the material layers. And here's also comparison of the max dispersion here and something in a similar values with my method. So it looks like this, and we get this nice looking aberration around. Here, if you look, there is no like dispersion here around this sphere that is inside this shader ball. But if we go back here, we get this cool aberration here again. I want to mention that this thing is not probably real life accurate. So here's other examples, which are way more extreme, just to show you what you can do with this method. Of course, let's see, this is the max dispersion you can normally get in Octane Render material. And here's with the material layers, how far you can push this dispersion. So let me just go through this. This one is super over-exaggerated, just to show you the example of how far you can push it. And here there's no transmission going on. It's literally just dispersion coloring this glass, which again, I have no idea how it works. It just looks cool. I will go back to this stuff later on. Okay, now that we are in a Cinema 4D and we have Octane Live Viewer open, I have the new material here, and I'll just open the node editor here and grab it here so it doesn't interfere with other stuff we see. Okay, so usually how you get the glass look is just going to a material type and changing to specular. I actually usually go to universal, but just for the sake of this tutorial, I want to go to a bit simpler version of this, because in universal you can do almost everything at once, and in specular it's just more about glass looking stuff, and but we care about this for this tutorial. I will change the index to 1.55 and the basics. There's material layer. I will turn it on, go here and add layer, and I will start from the last, but I will try to give you hints about and tips about other material layers here. But the specular layer is the one I was asked to show. So let's just go straight to the dispersion thing. If you go to the layer opacity, there's dispersion coefficient. And if you turn it up, you will start getting dispersion, which is like way more extreme than the regular one. But what we can do to control it more is using this slider, of course, along with this slider to get different effects, which is, you can get a lot of stuff here as well. Also, we can still use the normal dispersion in the Octane material and use it with material layer, which already will look different, because if you turn it off, it's a bit different. It's because of the EOR here, probably. And yeah, you can use the EOR to change how it looks again, so you can get weird stuff like this. And yeah, this one's basically normal dispersion turned down to max, and just the material layer is changing the EOR here. That's why we get this cool effect. We don't even mess with the dispersion coefficient in the material layer, but we can again and make even more weird stuff here. It's really comes down to experimenting with it. I will just show you how to get this saddle effect I showed you before, which was these two images compared to these original glass. Basically, I just lower it till it looks fine for me. like right now, for example, and go to the layer opacity and dispersion coefficient. And here we can push it just a bit, maybe a bit more, and turn this down. Yeah, and we have this different looking subtle dispersion effect here going on. Let's go back now to Photoshop, where I will show you a few more things you can do with material layers. There's actually tons of things you can do it with. I just want to show you a few tips. For example, here's normal looking gold, right? Yeah, here's normal looking gold material from Octane Renderer. Just a bit of roughness and specular tint, gold color. And here is a bit more interesting gold looking material, which is done with material layers. Basically, there's second layer, which is metallic, and it's a bit more rough and more saturated. This way we get this almost like a car paint looking shader here. Yeah, but it's a bit more interesting this way. Here is a few more examples. This one is really cool. Of course, it's using the film width and film index option in both Octane material and material layer. Here's another example of this, which is really cool. Okay, let's see now what we can do with the metallic material layer. We can start with the glossy material type and the Octane material. We will add a bit of roughness here, and let's go to the basic material layer. Let's check the material layer and add layer and metallic layer. And with the metallic layer, of course, you can try all of this stuff, but what I want to show you is thin film layer and the specular and the roughness and layer opacity. Those four are making the biggest change here. So let's start with the layer opacity. Let's put it to 0.5. You can put whatever number you want, but I just want to have equal amounts on both sides. Let's go to the material layer thin film layer. Change the film ER to 1 and add a bit of film width till we get the results we want, and add a bit of roughness. This way we get this really cool pearl-like effect, which we can adjust here how much we want of it, like something subtle like this or extreme like this. We can also change the glossy to metallic in Octane material, change the specular map to max. We can get car paint-like effect this way, which is really cool. Let's turn off the thin film layer and change the specular to some kind of color, like maybe blue or red. So we can also get this cool car paint effect this way, and change the specular to a darker value. We get this really good looking car-like paint look. And those are the most useful things I found in the metallic material layer. Let me now show you next layer, which is the sheen layer. Right away, we'll change the material type to glossy and diffuse to like 25. Maybe we can leave the roughness as it is and bump up the index a bit so it's more glossy. In the material layer, we can add the sheen and we can add some kind of color, maybe red. And let's put the sheen to 0.2. We can also add the sheen here in the Octane material and put it a bit higher, like 0.4, and change the color of it by dragging the line from the sheen here to RGB spectrum. And let's put the blue color here. It will look better this way than if you will just go with the fall-off gradient and just put it here with blue and red on opposite sides. It will look better simply because it will blend better. If we go here to Photoshop, I have the example. So here is the material layer method and see how great the fall-off is here. If we turn this off, it's just this washed out color. See how less saturated it is. So it looks a bit more fake to me, like here, for example. I much more prefer this fall-off and the way it looks. So definitely material layer with the sheen is way to go for me, always. It just looks way better for my taste. You can see how much better, how much more saturated and how much better it looks here, for example. And of course, you can put as many sheen layers as you want. If you go to material layer and add layer group, you can just add another one and another one and just keep going with how many you want and get really cool results here, like this. for example. Really cool stuff. And of course, with the material group layer, you can add how many layers you want. So just if you want, you can just keep adding those layers and get exactly the results you want, which is really cool. A few other tips regarding material layer I want to share is you can, if you go to specular layer, and actually let's change the Octane material layer first to specular and add the specular layer here, 1.55 in the OR. And if we add the roughness here, we get this more like a steam on a glass looking result. For example, here, if the roughness is all the way up. If we compare it to roughness all the way up without the material layer, we get this. It's completely different result. Even 0.2, if we store render buffer and let's connect it, let's get rid of this roughness and go here to 0.2, we get totally different result. Instead of glass having the roughness, we have layer of roughness on top of the glass. At least that's how I see it, which is really cool for some shots, definitely. Also, other than roughness, we can add the bump here with the maybe the Octane noise, and the result will be different than if the noise will be connected with the Octane material directly. Let's actually compare it again. So here we have bump on the layer, and here we have bump on the directly connected with the Octane material. Completely different result. Hopefully you learned something from this tutorial. If you want more tutorials like this, please let me know in the comment section. Also, I want to mention that English isn't my native language, so if you didn't understand certain parts of my tutorial, please let me know. I'll try to explain those parts best I can in the comment section. Also, you can find me on Instagram here, and I think that's it. See ya.